Thanks for staying with us tonight. All right, let's just everybody get on the same page here, okay? Let's be brilliant on the basics. Point one, the president is clearly hoping to strike a grand bargain on the budget. But the deal shouldn't be made on the backs of the middle-class voters who kept him in office for the next 4 years. The president met last night with nearly a dozen Republican senators, which is good, to discuss the deficit and the potential savings of what? Chain CPI. Here we go. Here comes the cave. The president is offering Republicans a potential cut in Social Security benefits based on the Consumer Price Index. The White House website estimates Chain CPI could save $130 billion. Really? Hold it right there. Why do people who have paid into a program their entire working life all of a sudden have to serve up $130 billion because we went to war and didn't pay for it? Experts here on this show have said repeatedly, Chain CPI is going to hurt seniors. Social Security should not even be on the table. It is not the problem. It is not the issue that created the problem that we face financially in this country. Many of the Republicans who want to gut Social Security are responsible for the financial mess George W. Bush left this country. Close your eyes, and you'll hit a devastating policy. It's like a dartboard. No matter where you hit, you got a bullseye. W spent like there was absolutely no tomorrow. He refused to regulate Wall Street. In fact, they want to deregulate it, let them go wild in the housing market. Gave us big pharma, ineffective tax cuts that did not increase the tax base and create a bunch of jobs like they said it would. And, of course, put two wars on the American credit card for the next generation. And let's just get it straight, folks. Since 9/11, we've spent almost $1.5 trillion on the wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. And there's a troubling new report. Much of the money has been wasted. Now, the Special Inspector General says the United States has wasted $8 billion on failed reconstruction projects. You know, nation building over there. We've wasted more than 13% of the money that we've sent over to Iraq. Now, we're spending billions on roads and bridges overseas, while here in America, we can't get the politicians to work together on an infrastructure package when we've got bridges falling down, killing people. When the Republicans say that they can't afford infrastructure because of the deficit, they should remember that spending on both wars makes up half of what the country's current deficit is. This is the president who overspent, drove up the deficit, and forced us into the current crisis. And let's not forget, he tried to privatize Social Security, and that is what the big golden goose is for them. They want to privatize everything, from the post office to the big three, you name it. If President Obama, that's right, if President Obama cuts any of the big three, he is going to be turning his back on the middle class, because Social Security was not on the negotiating table when the Obama team was out there saying that they're advocating for the middle class. And this will be his legacy if he caves to these Republicans who for generations have wanted to go after the big three. Now, am I getting off the Obama bandwagon? Let's see how all this goes. Joining me tonight, Senator Bernie Sanders of Vermont. Senator, good to have you with us.
Good to be here.
Is Chain CPI a bad idea?
It is a horrendous idea. It is totally absurd because, for a start, Social Security has not contributed one penny to the deficit. Social Security today has a $2.7 trillion surplus, can pay out every benefit owed to every eligible American for the next 20 years. Just today, Congressman Pete DeFazio and I introduced legislation to make Social Security strong for the next 50 years by lifting the cap on taxable income starting at $250,000. You do that, it hits the top 1.5%. Social Security is strong for the next 50 years. Second of all, this so-called Chain CPI, let me tell you what it would do, Ed. If you're 65 today, by the time you're 75, you're going to be losing about $650 a year. Now, if you're living on $15,000 a year, that is a lot of money. But it's not just seniors on Social Security. If you can believe it, this Chain CPI will make devastating cuts for disabled veterans, the men and women who lost arms and legs in Iraq and Afghanistan, the widows of people who were killed in Iraq. It will mean significant cuts for them. Do we really want to balance the budget on the backs of disabled vets and seniors making $15,000, $20,000 a year on Social Security? I think not.
Senator, will Republicans compromise on the budget if Democrats don't offer cuts to the big three? And this really is cutting to the chase here. They say that there's no revenue, although some senators have said, well, maybe we can find some revenue somewhere, but we got to have big cuts to the big three. This is the ideological fight. Isn't this what the election was all about? And so,
absolutely.
So back to my question. I mean, can the Republicans compromise on a budget if they can't touch the big three?
Ed, our job and the president's job, instead of caving in on Social Security and veterans programs and Medicare, our job is to do exactly what the American people want us to do and make an offer that the Republicans can't refuse. And that is rally the American people who overwhelmingly understand that, number one, the wealthiest people are doing phenomenally well in this country and their effective tax rates are very low. That 1 out of 4 major profitable corporations in this country pays nothing in taxes. Bank of America a few years ago, which has 200 subsidiaries in the Cayman Islands, paid zero in federal taxes. In fact, they got a rebate from the IRS.
Republicans have no problems with that. Republicans
they have no problems with that. They don't want to ask the wealthy or large corporations to pay a nickel more in taxes. We make that case to the American people, and I think the Republicans cave.
The radio show today, guy asked me, what's fair? I says, how about trying to pay something? I mean, when you're paying nothing, but this is how they think. And I just believe that the president has to hear from liberals and progressives across this country. He needs to know that we are behind him. We want him to stand strong on this. And if we can't get a deal, what do, Senator? Just go to the midterms and run this thing all over again?
Look, you are dealing with a major ideological split in this country. It takes us back to the 1932 presidential election, Hoover versus Roosevelt. On this issue, Ed, we have the vast majority of the American people behind us. We control the White House. We control the Senate. It would be criminal to cave on this issue.
Criminal to cave. I agree. And I think all Democrats need to stand up and remind the president what this is all about. Having dinner with these guys, you can't trust them. And we'll talk about that in the next segment when it comes to the filibuster. Senator Bernie Sanders, great to have you with us tonight. Thank you. Democrats have a chance to take a page from Rand Paul. And I'm going to tell you all about that next. And John Boehner is crying in his Merlot because the president's having lunch with Paul Ryan. Our big panel tackles that tonight. Stay with us.